welcome to part 1 of knitting the left front of this crop top. Normally when I knit a sweater, we knit the sleeves next, but not in this case. In this case, we actually now knit the fronts. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up for our fronts. It says right 20. And left 19. We are doing the left sleeve first, not sleeve, the left front first. And in order to do that, we need to actually increase the left side 8 more stitches. So 3, 6, 8. And the reason why we are increasing this by 8 stitches is we are knitting the button band at the same time as we are knitting the main piece. So now we're going to set up for 1 by 1 ribbing. And we will be doing our decreases for our V-neck on the left hand side. On the right hand side, we have 1 yarn mark for the sleeve. So it's not going to be all that technical. It'll actually be kind of fun. So we have that. We need to remove our sinker plate. Place our ribber. Now, this is one of the few times where we're actually going to be using the pressers, because we have to make sure, as we're knitting the button band, that everybody knits off. And we also need to make sure that the main bed is knitting as well. So, as usual, cast on 0 zeros. Everybody's locked on. Our connecting arm is in the right spots. We are now going to raise our ribber needles. And don't worry, I will put them back down. I'm not going to forget again. Okay. And back down. Perfect. Loading up my yarn, putting it between the beds. We are now going to knit across after we reset our row counter to 0, 0, 0. Here we go again. Now, because this piece is so nice and narrow, we will be able to move the camera a lot closer. And I will do that as soon as I get the cast-on comb on the machine. Right, now that we are on a smaller piece, we can actually see what we're doing. We are now going to knit 15 rows of ribbing once I put the barrel weights on and do our circular cast on. So, I'm going to put a barrel weight at 35, which lifts this corner, and another barrel weight at 30. Now you may say, hey, that's not balanced, but you have to remember we have more stitches on the left side than we do on the right side. So it will balance with time. We are going to knit on the ribber, going to the right, and we're going to part on the main bed. We're doing the exact same ribbing as before. So tension 2 for the circular, tension 3 for the main knitting. So let's go across. Out of plane. back into plane. Sorry. We are going into part. This one didn't get off. Okay. Now, main bed's in part. Ribbers in plane. Knitting across. Circular cast on is done. Normal, normal. Tension 3. Normal, normal. Plain. Tension 3. We're now going to reset our row counter to all zeros and knit our 15 rows. And we're going to put in our pressers because now is a good time to do that. So presser is in. Presser is in. We are now going to knit across. So 15 rows total. We're on row 2. Let's go. So this is row 15. Now we're going to transfer the stitches upward from the right side to the left side up to stitch number 19. And by 19 I mean 19 left. We do not lower our ribber for this piece or for the right side. We will be putting in one buttonhole as per the request of the owner of this sweater. Okay, this is 14, 15. Oh, that one went silly. This is 16. That's 17. This is 18, and that's 19. Okay, the rest of these are down. Now, we need to increase our tension to 6 and 6. You could leave your ribber in tension 5 or 4, but because of the amount of stress being a new knitter is, we're just going to leave it plain. We're not going to make any changes to that tension. We're just going to play with the same tension both beds. Resetting our row counter to all zeros. And now we are going to knit continuously until we hit the armhole mark. So let's do this. This is not a race. We have 32 more rows to knit. We're going to go nice and slow. We're going to make sure we have enough clearance for the pressers to actually engage properly. You can see how well this is working. If you wanted to do a full needle rib instead, we would have had to set that up from the get-go with an offset. But you know what? That's for an advanced sweater. We can maybe try that using a KH260 because this baby's going to its new home by the end of the month. So let's continue, shall we? This is row 5. We need another 28 rows. I am not going to bore you after this row. This is row 10. We're going to knit another 15 rows, and then we'll come back. All right, we're at row 25. We have another 8 more rows to go. I see that we didn't knit off here on the side, so we're just going to quickly knit this off. Not a big deal. Deep breath. Looks good. Make sure you have enough clearance so that everything knits off. Four more rows to go. One row, and then we have a yarn mark. So let's grab some yarn. Whoops. We're not going to grab very much, we're just going to grab a little bit. So here's our yarn. Might look familiar. As you can tell, this end one is not knitting off. We're just going to manually knit it. What's happening is it's splitting. So I'm going to grab it from underneath, let it go, flip it around, put it on there again. There, no more splits. So I'm going to come up from underneath, put this on the edge mark. While it's still in my hands, I'm taking my clip, and it is now clipped. No problem. This is row 33. That's our yarn mark. The next thing we're going to do is a buttonhole on the left-hand side here. Looks like about 10 to 15 rows. So let's go. You want to make sure that your yarn isn't getting caught on your presser. So keep an eye on it sometimes. Looks like we actually have 20 more rows to go before we do that buttonhole. So, you get the idea. We'll come back in a couple rows and we'll do that yarn mark, buttonhole, and decrease. Okay, we have 9 more rows. It looks like I just needed a little bit of weight on this side, so I added a claw weight, and that seems to have fixed the entire issue. We're now at row 50. 7 more rows to go. Oh, maybe it didn't fix it. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. Not a big deal. I am going to move the claw weight up. Okay, 6 rows. 5 rows. 4 rows. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we have the choice. This could either be your button or your buttonhole. Because this is the left side, I'm going to make this the buttonhole. So in order to make a buttonhole big enough for my button, I'm going to need to transfer my stitch upward. So I'm going to transfer stitch number 22 upward, and then I'm going to transfer stitch 23 onto 22, and then I'm going to back them back down onto the river. Okay, now stitch number 24, no, 20, 21, 22. Stitch number 23 needs to come back up to catch the yarn. So now we're going to knit across. Okay. I'm going to do a twist on this yarn. So taking it, twisting it, putting it back. And now we will start decreasing on this left-hand side for the V-neck. So lots of stress here, lots of things to remember. The first thing we need to do is we need to decrease our plain stitches 1 stitch. Okay, so we are putting stitch 18 on 17, and we're putting 19 out of work. Now we're just going to shift everybody this way 1 stitch. So 20 on the river is now 19 on the river. 22 is now 21. 24 is now 23. And 26 is now 25. We are now going to switch all the ones on the top over. Even this one that we just E-wrapped, move it over. Moving this one over and moving this one over. That's a lot of things to remember all at once. We want to make sure that everyone's down. Everything that's supposed to be out of work is out of work. With the pressers on, we shouldn't have any problems going across and having everybody knit off. We also need to keep an eye on our right-hand side where we've been having that yarn looping. So we will move our claw weight up at the same time. Deep breath. We're now going to knit across and hope for the best outcome. Okay, it looks like everybody knit off okay. If you want to add some extra weight to this side of the work, do that now. I'm going to use a triangle weight and a small barrel weight for mine, but you can do that with 2 claw weights. All right. Deep breath again. We have 2 rows before we do another decrease. We're at row 59. So that's 1. Here's our decrease. Now we're going to repeat. So stitch number 18 and 17, go 1 over. That is our fully fashioned decrease. And now everybody else moves over. It may seem like a long process, but the end result is a very clean button band instead of a disappearing button band. There are no other buttons on this project. There's just the one, which to me seems weird, but whatever. If you want to do the transfers faster, take a triple tool and transfer it 1. Take your triple tool, transfer it 1. Double check all of your work. Needles you don't need, not in play. Now we can knit another 3 rows. We're going to finish the left front in the next video.